The British East India Company arrived in India in the 17th century. They sought trade, spices, and riches. India, with its vast resources and fragmented kingdoms, became a prime target. The company's influence grew, eventually overshadowing the Mughal Empire. By the 19th century, much of India was under direct British rule, referred to as the British Raj. India, with its strategic importance and vast resources, earned the moniker the jewel in the crown of the British Empire. This period saw the construction of railways, telegraph lines, and administrative systems. Yet this progress came at a cost. The British exploited India's resources and people. They imposed their own social and cultural norms, often disregarding local traditions. The British saw themselves as superior, leading to widespread resentment among the Indian populace. Education and exposure to Western ideas also fostered a sense of Indian nationalism. The turn of the 20th century saw a surge in Indian nationalism. Early nationalist movements, though fragmented, voiced discontent against British policies. The desire for self-rule, or Swaraj, gained momentum. The Indian National Congress, founded in 1885, became a prominent platform for advocating political reforms. Economic exploitation fueled resentment. India's resources were used to support British interests, leading to famines and widespread poverty. The British favored their industries, hindering the growth of indigenous businesses. The First World War further exposed the inequalities of the Raj. Indians fought for the empire but received little in return. This disparity fueled calls for self-determination. The Second World War proved to be a turning point. Britain, heavily invested in the European theater, demanded India's support. Millions of Indians were recruited to fight for the Allied cause. Yet, the war effort put a strain on India's resources, leading to economic hardships. The conflict also exposed the weaknesses of the once mighty British Empire. The war's end brought about a change in the global political landscape. Britain emerged victorious but economically drained. The Labour Party's win in the 1945 general election brought a government sympathetic to Indian aspirations. The new government was more willing to grant independence to its colonies, including India. No account of India's independence is complete without mentioning Mahatma Gandhi. Returning to India from South Africa in 1915, Gandhi became the leading figure of the Indian independence movement. His philosophy of satyagraha, meaning truth force, advocated non-violent resistance against British rule. Gandhi's message resonated with millions of Indians. He led nationwide campaigns of civil disobedience, boycotting British goods, institutions, and laws. The Salt Satyagraha of 1930, where Gandhi led a march to protest the salt tax, captured global attention and put immense pressure on the British government. His unwavering commitment to non-violence and his simple yet powerful message of self-reliance made him a formidable force against British imperialism. By 1942, the demand for complete independence reached its peak. The Quit India movement, launched in August 1942, called for an immediate end to British rule. Gandhi's call for do or die galvanized the nation. Though met with suppression and mass arrests, the movement demonstrated the unwavering resolve of the Indian people. The movement had a profound impact on the British. The scale of the protests, coupled with the wartime exigencies, made the British realize that holding on to India was no longer feasible. The war-weary British public and the Labour government were increasingly inclined towards granting India its independence. The Labour Party's victory in the 1945 British general election proved crucial. The new government, led by Clement Attlee, was more sympathetic to Indian demands. Lord Mountbatten was appointed as the last Viceroy of India in 1947, tasked with overseeing the transition to independence. Negotiations for independence were complex. The Muslim League, led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, demanded a separate Muslim state, fearing marginalization in a Hindu-majority independent India. Despite efforts to find a unified solution, the partition of India became inevitable. On 15 August 1947, India finally achieved independence, marking the end of the British Empire. However, the joy of freedom was overshadowed by the tragic partition of the country. India was divided into two independent dominions, India and Pakistan. Partition triggered one of the largest mass migrations in human history, with millions displaced and countless lives lost in the ensuing communal violence. The partition remains a dark chapter in the history of both nations, a stark reminder of the human cost of division. The British Raj left an indelible mark on the Indian subcontinent. The impacts, both positive and negative, continue to shape the region today. The British introduced a unified legal system, modern education, and infrastructure development. However, they also exploited India's resources, leaving behind a legacy of economic disparity and social divisions. For Britain, the loss of India marked the end of an era. It forced a period of introspection and a reassessment of its global role. The once vast empire had shrunk, replaced by the Commonwealth of Nations, a voluntary association of former colonies. Independent India faced enormous challenges. The task of nation-building, addressing poverty, and healing the wounds of partition was daunting. Yet, under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru, India embarked on a path of democratic governance and economic development. India's journey since independence has been remarkable. Despite its share of challenges, India has emerged as a vibrant democracy and a major global power. The legacy of British rule continues to be debated, but there is no denying that India's independence marked a turning point in world history, inspiring other colonized nations to fight for their freedom. Gap 3S. The aftermath of independence. Discuss the immediate challenges faced by India post-independence, including partition, refugee crisis, and economic challenges. Gap 2S. As the euphoria of independence settled, India faced an array of immediate and daunting challenges. The partition of the country had led to one of the largest mass migrations in human history. Millions of Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims found themselves on the wrong side of the newly drawn borders, leading to a refugee crisis of unprecedented scale. Gap 2S. The violence and riots that erupted during this period left deep scars on the collective psyche of the nation. Families were torn apart, homes were abandoned, and lives were lost. The new government had to act swiftly to provide relief and rehabilitation to the displaced population, a task that tested the young nation's resilience and resources. Gap 2S. Economically, India was in a precarious position. The colonial economy was geared towards serving British interests, and the country lacked the industrial infrastructure needed for self-sufficiency. Poverty was widespread, and the agrarian sector, the backbone of India's economy, was in dire need of reform. Gap 2S. The leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru and his vision for a modern secular and democratic India was instrumental in navigating these turbulent times. The establishment of democratic institutions, the emphasis on scientific and technical education, and the push for industrialization were key strategies in addressing these challenges. Gap 2S. The road was fraught with difficulties, but the spirit of unity and determination that had won India its independence continued to drive its people forward. The immediate aftermath of independence was a period of trial and tribulation, but it also laid the foundation for the nation's future growth and development. Gap 2S. As we reflect on this chapter of history, it is a testament to the strength and resilience of the Indian people and their leaders. The story of India's post-independence challenges and triumphs is a powerful reminder of what can be achieved when a nation comes together with a common purpose. Gap 3S. The Nehru Era. Highlight the policies and vision of Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first Prime Minister, and his role in shaping modern India. Gap 2S. With the dawn of independence, Jawaharlal Nehru emerged as the guiding light for a nascent India. His vision was clear: to transform India into a modern, secular, and democratic nation. Nehru's policies were rooted in the principles of social justice, economic development, and national unity. Gap 2S. One of his foremost endeavors was the establishment of a robust democratic framework. Under his leadership, India adopted a constitution that guaranteed fundamental rights to all its citizens, irrespective of caste, creed, or gender. The democratic institutions he helped build provided a strong foundation for the world's largest democracy. Gap 2S. Nehru also placed a significant emphasis on education and scientific advancement. He believed that a modern India could only be built on the pillars of knowledge and innovation. This led to the establishment of premier institutions like the Indian Institutes of Technology, IITs, and the Indian Institutes of Management, IUMs, which have since become global centers of excellence. Gap 2S. Economically, Nehru's vision was of a mixed economy, combining the best elements of socialism and capitalism. He spearheaded the creation of large-scale public sector enterprises, which became the bedrock of India's industrial infrastructure. His focus on planned economic development, through the 5-year plans, aimed at self-reliance and poverty alleviation. Gap 2S. Nehru's foreign policy was anchored in the principles of non-alignment, allowing India to chart an independent course in global politics. His leadership in the non-aligned movement showcased India's commitment to peace and cooperation, even during the turbulent Cold War era. Gap 2S. Despite facing numerous challenges, Nehru's era was marked by a sense of optimism and progress. His visionary leadership laid the groundwork for a modern India, ensuring that the nation could stand tall on the global stage. Gap 2S. As we look back at the Nehru era, it is a chapter that underscores the transformative power of visionary leadership. Nehru's legacy continues to inspire generations of Indians, reminding us that with determination and foresight, a nation can achieve greatness. Gap 3S. India's progress. Cover the major milestones and achievements of India in the decades following independence, including technological advancements, economic growth, and social changes. Gap 2S. Following the Nehru era, India embarked on a remarkable journey of growth and transformation. The decades following independence saw India achieving significant milestones across various sectors, propelling the nation towards progress and modernity. Gap 2S. One of the most notable achievements was in the field of technology. India's space program, spearheaded by the Indian Space Research Organization (ISRO), made significant strides. The successful launch of the Aryabhata satellite in 1975, and later missions like Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan, showcased India's prowess in space exploration and research. Gap 2S. Economically, India witnessed substantial growth. The liberalization reforms of the 1990s, spearheaded by Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao and Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, opened up the Indian economy to global markets. This shift towards a market-oriented economy led to increased foreign investments, technological advancements, and a burgeoning middle class. Gap 2S. The IT revolution further cemented India's position on the global stage. Cities like Bengaluru emerged as global IT hubs, with Indian software companies providing services to clients worldwide. This sector not only contributed significantly to the economy, but also generated employment for millions of Indians. Gap 2S. Socially, India made strides in improving the quality of life for its citizens. Initiatives like the Green Revolution transformed agriculture, ensuring food security for a growing population. The Right to Education Act of 2009 guaranteed free and compulsory education for children, aiming to bridge the educational divide. Gap 2S. India also witnessed significant progress in gender equality and women's empowerment. Laws and policies were enacted to protect and promote the rights of women, leading to increased participation of women in various fields, from politics to business. Gap 2S. The healthcare sector saw improvements with the launch of schemes like the National Rural Health Mission, which aimed to provide accessible and affordable healthcare to rural populations. The recent Ayushman Bharat scheme further extended healthcare coverage to millions of Indians, aiming to create a healthier nation. Gap 2S. Culturally, India continued to thrive as a melting pot of diverse traditions and practices. The Indian film industry, particularly Bollywood, gained international acclaim, showcasing India's cultural richness to the world. Gap 2S. As we reflect on the decades following independence, it's evident that India's journey has been one of resilience, innovation, and progress. The milestones achieved in technology, economy, and social sectors have paved the way for a brighter future, ensuring that India continues to rise on the global stage. Gap 2S. The story of India's progress is a testament to the spirit of its people and their unwavering determination to build a nation that stands tall among the world's greats. As the journey continues, the vision of a prosperous and inclusive India remains ever so vibrant.